guys, I'm Madison Mary and welcome back to my channel. Today I have part 1 of my July wrap-up. So I'm going to start off this video with giving you guys all the stats of my July reading month. July was the month of the Book Junkie Trials, which is hosted by the lovely Rachel, and I adore Rachel so much. She is a friend of mine and she is just a lovely, lovely human being. I was a bard. I want to say that I completed the Book Junkie Trials. I am a quest champion. What can I say, guys? I know. So in the month of July, I read a total of 12 actual novels. I then read 1, 2, 3 graphic novels and 1 manga. All my stats, however, are not going to be including my mangas or graphic novels. I read 7 fantasy, 1 thriller, 3 romance smut, and 1 contemporary. Out of these, 1 was middle grade, 6 were YA, and 5 were adult. I read 3 of these books on Kindle and 9 of them physically. And my total page count, my favorite thing and the most I've read all year in a month, is 4,602 pages. Oh my stars. Can you believe it? I can't. I think it's awesome. I can't believe I managed to read that much in a month. So I'm going to quickly go over the graphic novels and the manga I read this month. So I read Happy Hustle High, which is about Hanabi and her school, which is an all-girls school, ends up mixing with an all-boys school, becoming co-ed, and she ends up getting roped into becoming the student body president, and she doesn't really, the girls aren't getting off the guys and the guys aren't getting off the girls, and so it's that kind of storyline. I read this when I was younger and I loved it. I read it now and it was like, you know? So that's that. I read the Tea Dragon Society and this was so cute. This is the Alcott exclusive edition and I loved reading this. It was so much fun and it was just adorable. I have an arc of the second book physically that I got at BEA, so I'm super pumped to read that. I then read the Avant-Guards. It hasn't come out yet, but I really liked it. It's about this girl who transfers to a different college and the basketball team there recruits her because they need another player, and there's a non-binary character in here, there's female romances galore, and it's really cute. Definitely check this out. I think it's going to be a huge hit and I cannot believe I have to wait a whole year for the next one. I also read Buffy the Vampire Slayer Volume 1, High School is Hell. This was okay. It's a totally different reimagining compared to the actual TV show, which kind of threw me off. And I mean, I don't think I'll be continuing on with this. I might see if there's actually someone who wants to take this off my hands. And then I also read this other horror manga. I'll put a picture of it here. I don't recommend it. It was a book I used to complete Orc Grove and it was just really disturbing and creepy. And I just, after I finished the first volume, I just sat there and I was like, it was not good. I didn't, yucky. Okay, now that those are out of the way, I'm going to start with my lowest rated book and build up to my highest rated book. This month my lowest rated book was a 3 out of 5 star and there's only 1 of them. And this book, I feel really bad about that I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I really want to love it because my lovely friend Heather loves it over at Aphrodite Reads. She's just such a wonderful human being. And, you know, I know she's a little bit disappointed in me, but it's okay because we still have our love for Percy Jackson and that's what really matters. But that book is going to be House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. I read an arc of this. It comes out on August 6th and I actually got it in my Book of the Month YA because I am an affiliate. If you guys want to get your first box for just $10 instead of the regular $15, you can use my affiliate link down below in the description box and use the code put here and you can get it for $10. But House of Salt and Sorrows is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. And so we have Annalie, and so far 4 of her sisters have died. Most recently, the one that died, everyone thinks was possibly by suicide. However, Annalie does not think that these deaths are by accident, so she kind of starts looking into them. There's just a lot of weird, creepy things going around. It's a very beautifully written book and I actually really adored the lore behind it. I think that the world that Erin A. Craig created was beautiful and very complex. Probably my favorite part of this book. I just feel like my biggest issue with this book was that the characters did not have enough depth and there was also a romance in here that was insta-love, which I don't really have a problem with a lot. But in this book, I just could not get on board with the romance and the end just felt very rushed in my opinion. It was just something that I had a lot of trouble with. I think that if I did reread this book, I would actually enjoy it a lot more. I just think that at the time, it was just a lot for me to kind of get through and I don't know, I definitely want to give it another try, which is why I got it as my book of the month pick, because I passed on my arc to someone else. I still think that you guys should definitely give this a shot. It just wasn't 100% for me, and I do tend to be a little bit more picky with standalone fantasies. But honestly, it's a beautiful book, so you gotta give it credit. The next book I'm gonna tell you guys about, since we're on a Heather theme right here, is Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. This is the second book in the Percy Jackson series. I'm part of the Reading Riordan book club, and we are reading one Percy Jackson book a month. We're pretty much doing all of Rick Riordan's books, and this is the second book in that series. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it more than I initially did, but out of all the books, this is the one that I feel like I remember the most about. So that was kind of an issue I had with it. I found myself skimming a lot of it. But otherwise, I really enjoyed it because you get to see a lot more of Percy and Annabeth in this, and they're like my favorite OTP in the entire world. But I think the most fun I had about this one was the fact that the last 20 pages, Soleil over the Little Reader's Corner and we FaceTimed and read the last 20 pages together, and then spent like an hour and a half just talking about the book together. And it was so much fun. Like, I adore this series. It's such a feel-good book. And you know, if you love Greek gods, if you love fun, quirky characters who grow up over a whole series and develop, and a beautiful slow burn romance, like, pick this series up. It is great. It is my childhood series through and through. I tabbed the heck out of it, and yes. So on to the other 4 out of 5 star books. I have The Rest of the Story by Sarah Dessen. I initially didn't think I was gonna tab this, but I did end up tabbing it like a little bit. I'm a huge Sarah Dessen fan. She is my #1 auto-buy contemporary author. I've been a fan of her since I was in the 6th grade. So we follow Emma Saylor, and 5 years ago, her mother died from a drug overdose. Her parents are divorced when this happens, and so after her mother's death, Emma ends up living with her father. And when the story starts taking place, her father is getting remarried, and they're about to go on a honeymoon, and Emma's supposed to go stay with her friend for the 2 weeks that her parents are away. However, that falls through, and Emma doesn't know what's gonna happen. Her dad's like, oh my God, where are we gonna put you? Her dad ends up dropping her off at North Lake, which is where Emma's maternal grandmother lives, and the rest of her mother's side of the family is from. Emma only visited them once when she was, I think, 5 years old. She doesn't really have any memory of them. And the story is about her reconnecting with her mum to the family, getting to know this whole extended family that she had no idea existed, and just really finding herself. While she's here, she ends up going by her second name, Sailor, and it's just a very beautifully written story. And it talks about internal development and finding a piece of yourself and learning about who you are and what you want in life. And there's a very slight romantic undertone to this that was very beautifully done, and it's Sarah Dessen just does a really great job at writing familial stories, and it's just something that I really do adore. So if you love familial stories, definitely check out Sarah Dessen. She does such an amazing job with them, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars because it was just such a sweet and fun and lovely read, and it was heartwarming and heartbreaking and just typical Sarah Dessen. The next book I'm going to talk to you guys about is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I read this book in one night. Did not sleep that night, guys. That was funny. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I wish this had been a 5-star read for me, but it just wasn't. So To Kill a Kingdom, we follow 2 points of view. We follow Princess ԼYRA. She is the daughter of the Sea Queen, and she is a siren. And the sirens in this world, every year on their birthday, they go out to the sailors or anyone who's on a ship, and they sing to them, get them in the water, and then rip out their hearts. So every siren has a heart for their age. So ΛYRA is 17 when this book starts. She has 17 hearts, and ever since she was little, her mum used to always get her hearts from royalty. And once ΛYRA came of age, she continued this and only ever took the hearts of princes. So she is known in this world, both underwater and on land, as the Prince's Bane. We then follow Prince ɪḻion. He is the crown prince of Midas, which is one of the many kingdoms in this land. And he doesn't really want to be prince. Instead, he sails the waters. He's a captain of his own ship called the Sad. And he is actually known as the Siren Hunter because his goal is to kind of kill the siren. And this story, the main plot of it is the fact that ΛYRA kills a mermaid, and her mum gets mad at her because her mum is an awful human being. Like, literally, she is actually, honestly, ΛYRA's mother, the Sea Queen in this, is one of the worst villains I've ever read. She's just a horrible, horrible, horrible person. So she turns Lyra into a human and says, okay, I'm gonna turn you into a human. If you don't get me Prince Alien's heart, you were gonna stay as a human. Sucks to suck. Alien ends up finding her in the water, like drowning, and saves her. And then she ends up convincing him to let her join his crew, and in return, she will help him find this divine source that will help defeat the Sea Queen and Siren kind. I loved this. I loved Lyra. She is one of my new favorite characters. I loved how headstrong she was, how determined and badass and fiery and feisty. Like, she is a cutthroat chick, and oh my god, I loved her. As well as the world building, like Alexandra Christo did an amazing job. This is a standalone, and she created such a vivid world. There are all these different kingdoms. We travel to all of them. They are so unique and beautiful. The way that she creates the sea world is amazing. The biggest issue that I had was the relationship between Alien and Lyra. Was, as much as I loved it, it still fell a little bit flat because there were fade to black kiss scenes. How do you have fade to black kiss scenes? It's not sex, it's kissing. Why are you fade to blacking it? I don't understand. I don't get it. I do think I also could have loved Alien more, but you know, overall, I really did love this. I think if you're a fan of pirate sea books, if you love Siren kind of stuff, you will definitely enjoy this book. It just wasn't a full 5 stars for me. It was a 4-star good read. I'm here to recommend it to you. Okay, so the next book I have to talk to you guys about is The Queen's Resistance by Rebecca Russ. I read The Queen's Rising last year, which is the first book in this series. It's a duology, and it was such a perfect conclusion. Let me tell you what the first book is about. The Queen's Rising follows Brianna, and in this world, there are these things called passions, and they're kind of like your specialty. You can have a music passion, a theatrical passion, a knowledge passion, a something else passion. I think it's art, yeah. But Brianna is in the knowledge passion. She wants to become a mistress of knowledge. What happens is that at this house that she lives in, the Magnolia House, where girls train to be these mistresses of passions, at the end of a certain amount of years of training, you get to perform, and you have the ability to be chosen by a patron to then become an official mistress of your passion. However, when it comes to that night, Brianna doesn't actually get a patron, and in the end, she keeps on training, and then this mysterious, disgraced lord comes out of nowhere and says he wants to be her patron. And then once she gets to know him, it turns out that he needs her help rescuing this queendom that is actually being overtaken by a king. What I really love about it is the fact that Brianna isn't actually the chosen one. While she does have these powers to help these people, she is not the person that they're trying to put back on the throne. They're trying to put the rightful queen back on the throne, and that was a really nice twist to the story. I also really liked that the first half of The Queen's Rising focused on this world and the world building, and then the second half kind of focused on this revolution. So this second book takes place after the revolution, and I actually really like that because it gave you an insight into what happens afterwards. I feel like a lot of books tend to end with being like, yay, we have the queen on the throne. But this book is about afterwards, where Brianna is trying to now fit in with this queendom that she hasn't been a part of. She grew up in this other land and now she's here. We also are focusing on what it's like to now have to deal with the traitors, have to deal with the king that they, the king's family that they took off the throne. Do you blame the king's whole family? Do you just execute him? What do you do about putting this new queen on the throne when there's kind of still a bit of animosity between everyone? And it's just a very interesting book, and I have never read anything really like it, and I really appreciated it. So I definitely really do recommend this duology, and I'm really excited to see what else Rebecca Russ has to come next. The next book I read was also a sequel. This is actually the third book in a series, and that is Escaping from Houdini by Kerri Maniscalco. I was actually really teetering with this one by giving it a 4 or 3.5 stars, just because the ending annoyed the holy heck out of me. I really love this series because we follow this girl named Audrey Rose Wadsworth, and she works for her uncle as in the mortuary. He is a mortician, and she learns anatomy from him, and she's really into the sciences. So it's set in the 1800s, and women aren't really supposed to be doing these things, especially a woman of the upper class, and it's all about breaking the mold, kind of empowerment of women. I do think that this one, out of all of them, It does focus on female freedom and the freedom for women to choose their own paths, but I do think that it wasn't as empowering as the other books have been just because of the way that it went about it. I do love this series though. I love Audrey Rose. I love Thomas Cresswell. Thomas Cresswell is one of my most favorite book boyfriends, and I just think that with all the character development and especially the relationship development between Audrey and Thomas, it felt like it was just thrown to the back burner in this one. And the reason why I love this series is I love seeing Thomas and Audrey talk to each other. I love them banter. I love them working on cases. And in this one, there is a sort of love triangle in it, and it really ruined that enjoyment for me. And that's what really upset me. I do like the love interest. He is a really fun character. He is a riot. I loved him when he was on the page. He was a lot of fun. I just wish he hadn't been a potential love interest in this book. And I feel like if that wasn't the case, if he just ended up being like her new friend, easy 5 out of 5 stars. But that love triangle, it just felt dirty and I just didn't like it. It felt rude to Thomas, and it was just really sad to see him because like Thomas, I love him so much, and your heart kind of just broke for him, and you just got kind of frustrated by Audrey in this book. Plus the ending of this book, like where it ends, it had me like so annoyed, and then you read the epilogue and you get really confused because it seems like suddenly everything was fixed. But it took me like 12 times reading back and forth between the ending and the epilogue to realize that there's like a chunk of time missing in between. And Kerri Maniscalco just released a novella called Escaping the Dark Prince or something, The Dark Prince, and that novella goes in between the ending of this book and the epilogue. So I think reading that will actually really help. But without that novella, it's a very confusing way to go from the ending to the epilogue because it's like she suddenly tied it in a nice bow, and it was weird. But I did love the atmosphere in this book. Kerri Maniscalco has beautiful writing skills, and she just created this carnival and she created this magic show. Like I wanted to be on this ship watching this magic show go down. Like yes, there were people dying and even dying during the magic show. Like that's beyond the point. I still wanted to be there and watch the magic show because it was really cool. And Houdini is in this, and you get to see some of his tricks. And Kerri Maniscalco does a lot of research, and she does kind of twist it a bit, but she does try to base a lot of things in fact and kind of pull things in. And I did not see the killer coming. That actually really surprised me. And I wouldn't reread this, but if I did, it would be fun to see if I could pick up on the hints instead. I think that the 4th book in this quartet, Capturing the Devil, is going to be so good. I'm actually really excited to see how this series ends. And the first 2 books were 5 stars for me. This one is like a 3.54. The next one I'm guessing is going to be an easy 5 again. Like it's an overall great series. It's just this book suffers a little bit, but you know, things happen, it's fine. Okay, that is going to be all for part 1 of my July wrap up. If you want to see the books that I rated even higher, you're going to have to wait until my next video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please do click the like button as well. If you want to see more of me, please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, thanks a bunch guys, bye!